What will you be watching for election eve, and what should we be watching for election eve?
Yeah, so the first thing to look for is the early vote in Georgia. By law, this time, unlike 4 years ago, all early vote, in person and mail, must be reported by 8 p.m. Eastern Time. There were about 3.7 million votes recorded as of yesterday at 5 p.m. It will probably hit 4 million, which is to say 75 to 80% of the total vote will be in by 8 p.m. Eastern.
Wow. Doesn't that strike you as a big number, or is that?
Oh, it's a huge number. Yeah, it's a huge number. In other words, the thing is that Democrats in the modern era run up early vote leads in Georgia, and Republicans take over on election night. We'll know whether or not Georgia is in play as of 8 p.m. Eastern, because we'll have all the early vote data in, and we'll know roughly how many votes are out and how they're distributed between the Democratic counties and the Republican counties. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. Second thing I'm looking for is North Carolina. They close their polls at 7:30. They too have extensive early voting. It's about 3.7 million as of today. I believe their early vote goes through 3 p.m. on Saturday in person. Mail can continue to come in, but there's not as much mail as there has been before. Registered Republicans are leading registered Democrats. 2 years ago, over 130,000 more registered Democrats voted early. So that's another good sign. But about a third of the voters there are registered as independents. So again, don't read too much into it. But they don't have a law, but they do tend to report pretty quickly. So by 9 o'clock, I'm expecting we'll have a pretty good sense on North Carolina. This should be, 2/3 to 70% of the total vote. And Trump is ahead in Georgia and North Carolina. He is a huge favorite to win this night.
Right.
He then has 3 different independent paths to 270. He can win Pennsylvania, and he's there. He can win Arizona and Wisconsin, and he's there, or he can win Nevada and Michigan, and he's there. There are multiple combinations. Pennsylvania gets him there all by himself. There are multiple combinations of the other 5 that get him there. So, if he wins those 2 states,
then she would have to hold the whole blue wall, basically.
Well, she would have to hold the blue wall at that point. If she can't break through in one of those states.
That's Pennsylvania,
and you can see the importance of North Carolina in this. In the last 24 hours, Trump has added 2 rallies in North Carolina to his schedule, none in Georgia. Is that because they're worried? Is that because they want to lock it down? Probably a little bit of both. It's better to run worried, and you never want to run scared. Better to run worried than run confidently. But that shows you how important North Carolina is.
Right. We've talked about these 2 districts in Virginia before, the 2nd and the 7th, and you've pointed out that those are sort of 2 bellwethers or things you'll be watching for. What's important about those 2 congressional races?
So Virginia 2 is the Norfolk, Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area. It is a Biden +2 to +3 seat, significant African-American community. Big congressional race going on there. If Harris is doing well with African Americans, it will show up there. If she's not, because what we find is that there's some state and regional variation in the African American vote, but not a lot. So if there's low turnout and higher Trump percentages in Norfolk, which is a heavy African American community, there will be elsewhere. And Virginia closes at 7 o'clock. And they report relatively early. The Virginia early vote is showing that, I have not looked at Norfolk, but the number 2 does not have Norfolk. Number 3 has Norfolk. So we want to look at District 3, Bobby Scott's district, for the black vote. There is a black community in there, but the main black vote is in Virginia 3. Virginia 3 early turnout is way down. Mm-hmm. If Trump is running even in that district in Virginia 2, that's a sign that he's going to do better across the rest of the country, because it's a bellwether district. Virginia 7 is a multiracial district in the exurbs of Washington, some rural areas centered on the town of Fredericksburg. Biden won that by a shade under 7. But if Trump is doing if Trump's getting high turnout from his people, and he's doing better among Hispanics and blacks, it will show up there. He probably won't carry the district. If he does, it's going to be a sign of a Republican landslide. But even if he loses it by 4, and the Republican candidate there comes close for Congress, that again is a sign it's a better night for Trump than it is for Harris.
Yeah. Well, Henry, we've got just about a minute left here. I'm going to ask you the question that I'm sure everyone wants to know. Do you have any feelings about where we're going to be? Who's going to be celebrating on election eve? And follow up to that, do you think we'll know election eve whether which side should be celebrating?
I do make predictions hard and fast. I put my head on the chopping block and wait for the guillotine to come down. They will be published this weekend in the New York Post. Read it there. As for do I think we'll know? Yes, I think we'll know by 6 a.m. on Wednesday. The only way we wouldn't know is if it is really, really close in some of these swing states, like if Pennsylvania is within 20,000 votes either way. No, we may not know because there'll be enough votes left out. But 98% of the vote in Pennsylvania, is counted. Means there's probably not enough votes out for somebody to overtake like a 40,000 vote margin.